We are strongly against airbags on each seat.
The Danish government cannot support this idea of making seat belts an alternative to the airbag and vice versa.
A proposal for new traffic safety rules for the EU sparks a heated debate at a gathering of delegates representing member states. But the discussion won't have an immediate impact on European drivers. It's a simulation intended to help Serbian teachers learn new ways to educate university students in public policy courses.
This was as kind of a simulation exercise of negotiations at the level of the European Union Council working group, where, as usually, some new legislative acts of European Union are being debated by the representatives of the member states until they get some consensus on the texts, and then it goes further on to the Council itself and then Parliament, etc., to be enforced as a European act.
The April event, sponsored by the EU's Tempus programme, was organised by PASOS and the EUROPEUM Institute for European Policy, a member of the PASOS network of think tanks. Afterwards, the programme drew praise from the participants.
This workshop we participated in was very, very interesting and very challenging because it makes you see the stuff that are very boring when you read them in the books, when you hear them on TV. Very interesting. What we needed to do is to represent the opinions of the different governments in negotiating the EU directive, and it was very challenging in a way that it makes you think about the position you need to argue that you wouldn't agree upon. It makes you think how actually it is hard to be a governmental employee from time to time and how it's hard to achieve a consensus on some common goal. So I really appreciate the experience I got here, and I had a great time, which often is not the case. When you learn a lot, sometimes you get bored, but the best mix is when you get both sides. Get some fun, have some fun, and then learn a lot.
Here we're trying to learn about the public administration and the decision-making process in the EU. So this really helps because you go into the room with 2 pieces of paper, which are basically your positions on a certain issue, and then you're faced with 54 of those pages from your colleagues, and then, of course, you will need to make compromises somewhere, you will need to find common positions, you will need to delay the negotiations from time to time. So it's really nice to see how that works in practice, how you actually need to negotiate in the European Union. And I'm hopeful that we will implement those kind of things in our study programs in Serbia, and that it will help Serbian public administration in the future during the European integration process.
We got really good practical skills in negotiating with our colleagues, and also more knowledge about the relation between European Commission and member states and the procedures on adoption of the directives.
We have subject negotiations, and every class is simulation of something. We had business negotiations, and at our university we have subjects like European integration and so on. So we can do this simulation in the class.
The purpose of the simulation, which has been organized here for the Tempus Serbia participants, which were lecturers of the university, young lecturers, was just to show them how such a simulation exercise may be incorporated into the teaching process of preparing public servants. And that was the main purpose, and it was successful.